Hello, and welcome to Wednesday, the day of Wens. Now, I want to recall to you a story that happened around this time last week. I think I mentioned it during that video, but other things were going on, and this was happening so suddenly and so quickly, and it was kind of a big deal, kind of a whole thing, so we need to talk about it now. Well, we couldn't talk about it in the moment. So now that we're a week away from that event, let's actually talk about it. So it was like 9:15, 9:20-ish last week when I noticed that somebody parked in front of our driveway. Now, I'm pretty sure, like, throughout the entirety of the continental US and probably the US in general, and probably overseas and everywhere, it is illegal to park a vehicle that is not belonging to the person who owns the property, blocking their driveway. So we noticed a car parked there. Now, there was plenty of space for them to back up and just give clearance to the driveway. So we were wondering what is happening there. I have security camera footage. I went back and checked, and sure enough, the person just like parked the car there. Like they purposely drove there, blocked the driveway, looked back at the car and admired their parking job, and then walked away. Now, this wouldn't be too much of an issue, except that it was Wednesday night, and the next following day, Thursday, Thanksgiving, it would have been, we usually take my car to go out to family functions, and considering how we were at my cousin's house, albeit Thursday evening, it just wasn't great for somebody to be blocking that. Plus, you don't want to deal with that on a holiday. So we're like, okay, let's figure this out. So, tell the parents. They're like, okay, well, we'll just call the police and see them have it get towed. My brother was also out at a friend's Thanksgiving or party or something, and he would have been getting back late, and we didn't want the driveway to be blocked for his car, so that was the whole thing. So we're like, okay, let's see if we can get this towed. So we called the local police. They show up within the hour or so. Again, it wasn't too big of a deal because it was non-emergency, so we're not worried about it. I think we called them, we called around 9:40, and they showed up maybe half an hour later, like 9 or 10:15-ish, which is fine, totally fine. So we call them there. The guy's like, hey, we can't really tow it because it has a temporary plate or whatever, so we can just put a ticket, but it's it's actively blocking our driveway, we can't move the car. So he's like, so we're like, fine, whatever. Can we at least do something about it? He's like, you know what, let me get back to you, because it's actively blocking we can't get a vehicle out, and my vehicle's there, my brother needs to park. It's the whole thing, right? So that's strange, but he goes back to his car, and then 45 minutes later he comes back to the door, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna end up towing it. So here's the story with that vehicle. It did end up getting towed, but there was a whole bunch of nonsense that leads us to believe something kind of suspicious was going on. So first off, it's got a temporary plate, which is fine. It's kind of odd, but the thing is that temporary plate was registered in New Jersey, which is okay. It's just a neighboring state, but still, it's temporary plate. When the officer went to look it up, that temporary plate is not registered to any person or any it's not registered to anywhere, which is again very suspicious. So next logical thing is for the officer to find the VIN number. Now the VIN, or I guess vehicle identification number, I don't know why we say VIN number, it's like ATM machine, whatever. We find the VIN, but the thing is, it's obscured. So he had to like definitely like dig into try and figure out why, like what the VIN was. So after getting the identification number, he looks it up and determines that the vehicle is not registered to any person or anyone. So you have a vehicle that has a temporary plate, is not registered through the temporary plate, VIN that has been obscured, and the registered person, and just like it's not registered to anyone, like it does not exist. The car obviously doesn't have insurance either, so we're just left befuddled. So he comes to the door. He's like, "Hey, yeah, we're just gonna tow it." He relays all this information to us, and they get it towed away. So I was talking with some friends as this was actively going on, and be like, "Hey, I've got a wild story. This and this and this and this has been happening," and everybody's like, "What on earth? Like, what could possibly be done?" Like, you're going through all this effort to like hide so much information about the car. We thought it was stolen because that's the only thing that can make somewhat kind of sense, right? If it's not registered to a dealership or a person, how does this car exist? Typically, there's some proof of ownership. This one did not have any, at least from what the officer was telling us. And that's just super wild. So, we figured, okay, well, it's got to be stolen, right? But if you're stealing a vehicle, you're putting fake plates on there, fake temporary plates. You're obscuring the VIN, and you're blocking a driveway. Like, sure, you're doing your best to like make it look legit, but like you're hiding this information. But then you go out of your way to just block a driveway, which is like, you know it's gonna get towed. All you had to do was move the car back maybe like 10, 15 feet, which you had plenty of space to do, and you'd be fine, right? So we're wondering, like, if it wouldn't, nobody would have raised any eyebrows if it was like, a temporary plate, and like nobody would have been looking for the VIN or anything. It would have been completely fine. So we're like, nobody would have noticed, nobody would have cared. But you actively go to like break the law, whatever, right? Like you actively block somebody's driveway, which means you're going to get your vehicle towed. So why would you do that? This leads us to believe that the vehicle was stolen, right? But then why would you get it towed? You could have left it on the side of the road and just like and that be it. Like nobody would have cared, nobody would have noticed. But actively getting it towed, that's leading to something more going on. And it's just confusing, right? Like, why would somebody do that? Like, sure, you have a vehicle that's not registered. It's basically like, it doesn't belong to anyone, and it's just sitting there being like what? You could have passed this, like you could have continued driving this for weeks, months, like until, also like the fake plate was expired as well. The temporary tag had been expired, so you could have just like left it there, and like something would have happened, right? We might have reported the vehicle abandoned or something, but it's whatever. So we're like just trying to figure out what's going on. So why would you like put a like actively want to get it towed after obscuring the VIN, after letting fake plates expire? Something has to be going on. So maybe the car was stolen. That's the only thing that can make sense. And I've been pretty much home the entire week, and I don't think I've heard the doorbell ring once or like knock on the door or heard anything about that car since, which is why I'm like bringing it up now. We're 1 week removed from the event, so we have no idea what's going on. It's befuddling, it's wild, I have no idea what's happening, and it's definitely something. So that's the whole thing, but it got resolved within 2 hours, and no skin off our backs. It wasn't a problem for us. We just called it in, and they're like, "Hey, get rid of it." And they got rid of it, so we're all happy there. But yeah, um, don't block driveways with stolen cars. It's that simple. Uh, nobody would bat an eye if it stayed there for like a month. If it was just parked, 15 feet back, but you go out of your way to block an active driveway, it's gonna get towed. So yeah, that's the story of what happened last Wednesday. Stupid, I know, but I I just felt like I had to tell it. Regardless, that's what we're gonna call it for today. Not much else happened today, so it's perfect time for this story. Thank you all for watching. I hope to see you tomorrow. And until then, later.